thread tails. This is just how I do it. You don't have to do it this way. You can stitch in place, you can use a little knotting thing on your sewing machine, whatever works for you. But because I'm making exhibition quilts, I like my thread tails to be really, really neat. I want the stitching to be absolutely uniform from the start to the end, so I don't want any little lumpy bits or short stitches, anything like that. So I tend to sew all day and then deal with thread tails in the evening, and then the next day when I come back to sew, I've got a really lovely clean fresh piece of work. There are some times when I will do it as I'm going along because the thread tails do get in the way, but on the whole I'm kind of sitting and doing this for a period of time. So I'm going to show it twice. Okay, here we have our top thread and our bobbin thread. The first thing I do is I pull on the top thread to see if it will move, if the bobbin thread can be pulled, because if it's stuck and knotted and looped on the back, that will not move. So you want it to move, you absolutely want it to move. Now there is what I call an empty stitch, so from where the bobbin thread comes out and the top thread comes out, there is a space, there's a gap, and we want to fill that in. So the top thread comes and it's pulled across the empty space, and I'm going to make a loop and take the ends through the loop. The loop's twisted, but it is just a single loop. Let me just untwist it for you. Can you see that? It's just a single loop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that tight, and if I just pull it tight, the knot will just end up anywhere. So to get the knot where I want it, I go inside the loop and I hold the needle, and it's the eye of the needle, against the spot on the tails where I want that knot to make. It was really twisty thread, but can you see I've pulled it down? So the knot is about 1/8 of an inch from where the threads come out of the fabric, and that is where I want it. I don't want it right where the threads come out because it'll sit on the top. I am using an embroidery needle in size 9 or 10, which has a long slim eye, and I'm going to thread both of those tails through the eye of the needle at the same time. I'm going to go into the hole that the bobbin thread comes out of, and I'm into the layers. Now I could get a little bit of shadowing with this green thread on this yellow fabric, so ideally I want to be sort of underneath the batting so that any shadowing is on the underside of the quilt. Now I could just pull this out in one movement, but I like to have a little bit of a longer tail, so I'm going to turn the needle round, get my thumbnail on the point, push the eye of the needle out, and then I've got a double length and I pop that knot through. It's not going to want to pop, is it? Come on, little knot, pop through there. You heard it go through, and then I can just chop off that little bit. You can pull it a bit tight if you want so it really disappears, and you can see there is no shadowing there. Okay, I'm going to do it once more. I'm going to do it quickly to show you the speed at which you can do it. So I'm going to do it a second time. So I have an embroidery needle in size 9 or 10 with a long thin eye. I'm going to pull on the top thread and make sure there is movement between that and the bottom thread so that I know I'm not looped or knotted on the back. I have an empty stitch. I pull the top thread over that empty space, I make a loop and I take the ends through the loop. I take the eye of the needle inside the loop, I hold it on the thread tail where I want the knot to make, slide the needle out. I'm going to thread both of those tails onto the needle at the same time. I'm going to place my hand underneath. I'm going to go into the hole where the bobbin thread came out of. I'm going under the batting, under the wadding, so I don't get any shadowing of green thread on pale yellow fabric. Just before the needle comes out, I turn it round. I'm going to take my thumbnail, push on the point, pop the eye of the needle out. I'm going to pull on that, pop the knot through, and then just a little pull on the thread tails and let that go, and that is as neat and as secure as you could wish for. It's also going to get stitched down with subsequent stitching that goes on top of it, so we are good to go.